Hello, 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 hello. Welly, 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 well. What up, everybody? It's your boy, rather grown man, Ralph Anthony Garcia, also known as R4. And I welcome you to a new edition of Ralph Reads Raw. There we go. What up, everybody? About to read the rest of this Carlito's Way and make way for the debut of After Hours, which will begin in a few days from now. But in the meantime, let's get busy. First, you know what I gotta do. First, I gotta say what's up to everybody out there that is lending a hand keeping this channel operational. Alrighty, let's get down with the get down. Alright, let's say hello to Bruce Sims, Don Cortez, Kay, Brianna Blanchard, James Jackson, Newly OG Birdman, Goose Jack, Lost Roads, Andre McNeil, Millicent Gage, Shelby Thomas, IDIHC, Marlo D, Alasia Ross, Trey Noel, Raw Diamonds Media, Tamika Lucy, Clay Deskin, Keishonda Riley, Drake up next, yep. Karen, James Chopin, D'Antonio Lewis, G Cash, that's Locoist, K Marie Billingsley, JB, J Bobo, Sherelle 5150, Gabriella Dickey, Corey Pearson, Nana James, Mr. T, salute to you, brother. Evan Keep, come on with this, Clarence Hale, Keith Woods, Marvin Kuntz, BLE 007, Sharon Myers, Julia Fisher, Rio Bomar Harris, Uptown Nia, that's Nia, C-Madge, Say K, Darielle, yeah, Danielle Cunningham, D. Eagle Galloway, Lanesia Cornish, Supreme Goddess Nikki, Queen, T Money, Dizzy, Damian Irving, Sees All the Time, Toedi, Tequila Green, Mr. Fulltime, Dejuan Manuel, The Fort, Lady Rain, 808, Darielle Carrington, Desmond Thomas, Marcus Valentine, Kyla Easler and the mighty Easler family, Michael Woodford, Ant 10, Calm, Tama, Mr. Light, and finally, the Ranchers Union. That's Jaw Logic and Friends. peace to all of my folks, keeping this channel alive with their support and contributions. Now then, there's only one other thing to do. Let the reading commence. Chapter 11. All the shadow boxing and gym fighting was over. We was all going in the main arena in the main event. Trial, baby. Trial. A heavy mother going down. Ain't nobody in Foley Square to pay traffic tickets. There was so many lawyers, they was all stumbling all over one another. Bunch of hooples. They had scads of papers and thick folders. Meanwhile, they didn't know what the hell they were doing. The only one with a good rap was Albert Freeman, Mickey Connor's lawyer. He used a lot of fancy words and would ask for sidebar conferences every 5 minutes. But he was the pilot fish, and the rest would go along with him. Right away I told Mickey Rooney, be cool, low key. Don't mix me up with these gangsters. I'm here on the fly, like caught up in the web on a Hummer. You make that clear to the jury. You supposed to give me a severance. You screw that up. And where's my Spanish interpreter? I told you, Carlito, this is ridiculous. I told you, Carlito, that is ridiculous. You were born in New York and you've lived here for 40 years. How can you not speak English? So what? I've been forced to live in the ghetto, ain't I? A man could live his whole life in the 23rd precinct and never speak no English. You gotta keep me apart from these criminals, one way or another. The jury panel filed in. Ugh, what a bunch. Looked to me like they all worked in the post office. Had friends in law enforcement and had been victims of crime. Yeah, we were in great shape. The lawyers was making a big fuss about what kind of jury was needed. The Irish is all cops. The Jews is getting mugged by the dope addicts. The blacks ain't gonna favor no white defendants dealing dope in the ghetto. There ain't no Latinos in the jury panel. What do we got to get them? What do we got to get them? An Eskimo jury? Goddamn lawyers. Then they're all psychiatrists. This juror walks with a gimp. He's mad at the world. This juror looks like a bag. He might go for me or Rocco. The juror sounds like a boss. He could take over the jury. But in whose favor? Like that. Well, after all this noise about the jury, we ended up with the hangiest bunch of mothers in history. Lucky they didn't convict the bailiff and the marshals too. So now we got the jury picked. Mr. Ashley Scott starts his opening. Good God almighty damn. I ain't never heard so many lies and slander. Calumnia. Then he started talking about deals I never heard of and shit that was brought in when I wasn't even on the street. A sinister conspiracy encompassing far off places and persons, all intertwined in varying degrees of complicity and participation with one avowed purpose, to bring in the White Death to our borders. I told little Dave, you better have something to answer that bunch of bullshit. Goodness gracious, hurry up. Unfucking believable. I told little Dave, you better have something good to answer that bunch of bullshit. Then I heard Scott mention about a George Bentacore being picked up by Interpol in Europe and the internet and the international combine that had been smashed that supplied 99 per and the international combine that had been smashed that supplied 99.9% of the junk coming into America. Shit. Amadeo liked to vault 6 feet in the air. The jury saw this and said, I said to myself, no matter what lies they say about you, be cool, be blasé, like shit. Is that all you got against me? Tain't nothing. Then after winding through all this jive, he got to me, like least but not last. In the presence of an army of agents and a helicopter, this Brigante took possession of the vehicle, which contained 200 kilograms of heroin. And then, with this contingent of law enforcement officers in his van, he took. With this contingent of law enforcement officers in his van, he took off with the vehicle. A more bold and audacious flight has never been recorded. The chase was climaxed by Brigante driving into the Holland Tunnel the wrong way, where he crashed into an oncoming vehicle. The resultant fire destroyed much of the contraband, but we will introduce it to evidence at a later time, subject, of course, to His Honor's ruling a full 10 kilograms of this most dangerous drug, which was salvaged. This seizure marks the culmination of an investigation, the development of which has taken years. I will, in my presentation, put together for you all the parts, piece by piece. The mosaic will be complete at the end, I promise you. Scott sat down. Scott sat down behind his mountain of papers, books, and exhibits. He had a new air in front of the jury, did old Astley. He wasn't going around glaring and staring anymore. Now, with the jury digging him, he was very amiable, like he was walking on soft-boiled eggs. In other words, hey folks, I'm a nice guy. I ain't gonna hurt nobody if they don't deserve it. I wouldn't kid you. If a juror wanted to see an exhibit, he'd float through the air to bring it over. He'd float through the air to bring it over. And he'd be smiling at them and bowing and scraping when they would file into the courtroom. Another dry humper, just like Steinhardt. They're all in the same bag. I says to Mickey Rooney, I want a dynamite opening, Dave. You were going to wave the opening, Carlito. You crazy, Dave. The best offense It's a good defense or some shit like that. Now you jump off first. You be best. You don't understand, Carlito. The opening is to state what we're going to prove. What are we going to prove? We don't come in until the tail end of this case. I say we lay low, out of sight, out of mind, until we hear the evidence. Then we formulate our attack. Why should we reveal our hand to the U.S. Attorney? Now hold the phone, counselor. You ain't talking to no 8th Avenue pimp here. I've been around courtrooms all my life. I was in trials when you were still sucking my... I was in trials when you were still sucking titty. I've been in the old magistrates court. I've been in the old magistrates courts. The special sessions, the general sessions, the criminal court, the Supreme Court. Shit. I had a paternity case in the family court. And I near always been a winner, in spite of my lawyers. So don't you be sounding me about what you is or what you ain't gonna do. You gonna do it my way. That's where it's at, you dig? I dig, Carlito. And you better get yourself another lawyer. I've had it with your bullshit. I can't take any more of it. What a nerve. Consider yourself discharged. Abinitio. Abba who? You got the message. Buzz off, Kleinfeld. Dave called for a sidebar conference and told Judge Rossi that me and him was at an impact or something like that. Old Jatano got all shook up. He crooked his eyebrows at me like, I knew you'd be in trouble, you cocksucker. Then he excused the jury. Stand up, Mr. Brigante. Let us get something straight at the outset. I do not tolerate any undue delays in my courtroom. There will be no dalliances here of any variety. I am well aware that disruptive tactics may be on your mind. If they are, dismiss them, for I shall deal summarily with you. Now this trial is going to proceed in orderly fashion, and I will suffer no nonsense. Do I make myself clear? Yes, Your Honor, you sure do, and I couldn't agree with you more. I have been appraised that you are a somewhat impetuous individual. So I'm warning you, Mr. Brigante, I will tolerate no outbursts from you. Your Honor, I'm surprised that you've been apprised of that. That ain't me. I got all the respect in the world for this court, Your Honor, as God is my witness. But I fired my lawyer. What nonsense is this? I don't want Mr. Kleinfeld. He's incompetent. He's incompetent. And furthermore, he has lost confidence in me. In you? Yeah, in me. But this is preposterous. The trial has commenced. Mr. Kleinfeld is your lawyer. Bring in the jury. Wait a minute, Your Honor. I'm ready to proceed, but without Kleinfeld. I will be my own lawyer. Does this man have a record of mental illness, Mr. Scott? Not that I know of, Your Honor. I ain't crazy, Your Honor. I got a right to a lawyer of my own choosing, and I choose me. That's the Guido case. The who? This is absurd. All right, Mr. Brigante, you will act as your own attorney. Mr. Kleinfeld, you will continue to sit by Mr. Brigante's side to assist him in any legal question that might arise, and you shall be prepared at all times to resume your original role as lawyer for the defendant, should he decide to desist from his irregular conduct. Am I understood by all? Yes, sir. Proceed to bring in the jury. I'd always knew I'd get there. Carlito Brigante, member of the bar. Ha! So the trial went ahead. They had everything. Scott tracked the junk from Don, Georgia. Scott tracked the junk from Don. Scott tracked the junk from Don Jorge. Scott tracked the junk from Don Jorge Ben. Scott tracked the junk from Don Jorge Bentancur to Canada, New York, and Florida. Undercover narcs, custom agents, Interpol cops, motel clerks, hotel clerks, all kind of people Scott put on the stand. I didn't hear my name mentioned yet, but I jump up and object regularly. What is the nature of your objection, Mr. Brigante? I'm objecting to my being on trial here when my name ain't being mentioned and I ain't never seen none of these witnesses. Objection overruled. Sit down, please. And I object to all this noise about George Bentancur when he ain't even here. I got a right to face my accusers. This is taken subject to connection. Please sit down. And I object to all this gas about Canada. I ain't been north of Greenhaven. This is defamatory and prejudice to me. I object. And my favorite. I object on the grounds it is unrelevant, unmaterial, and unconsequential. I love to say that one. Used to drive old guy up the wall. Mr. Brigante, would you please refrain from these exclamations in the presence of the jury? This is uncalled for. Consult your attorney. That's me, Judge. Wow, would he get hot? Old prissy pants Scott would have a pained look on his puss like he'd been goosed with an umbrella. This is inexcusable, Your Honor. Mr. Brigante is deliberately thwarting the continuity of my train of thought. It is a shameful attempt to thwart the orderly presentation of the evidence. I really got out of line that time. I said, I object to all this talk about twat in the presence of the jury. That did it. The judge ordered a recess for the day and had a shrink check me out at West Street. Through all this, Amadeo would have daily conferences like he was a field marshal. Mickey, Petey Pumps, Joe Cass, Larry, and even Rocco had to sit still for his speeches. He scared the shit out of all the lawyers. I'm paying big money, you bunch of scumbags. Meanwhile, you're sitting on your asses and let this one figlio de putana Scott do all the talking. I got a family. I got businesses. I pay taxes. I gotta hear this bastardo ruin my good name with this talk of junk. I'll break your ass. You don't do something. His lawyer, Jacobs, had to be the most underpaid lawyer out. But Pete wouldn't look at me. I knew he thought I was crazy. Fuck him. By now, I was getting bored with all the yin-yang. Just when I was losing interest, Scott played his trump. Mario Battaglia, also known as Joe Bats. I remember like now. The marshal opened the door behind the jury box, and there he stood, all 260 pounds of him, Joe Bats. I heard stories he offed people with his bare hands. The bosses had their eye on him when he was 16. He could rip the gates on storefronts when he was a kitty burglar with his mitts. Didn't need no crowbar. Didn't take long before he was mopped up. He didn't disappoint them. They could aim him in any direction. All 6'4" of him. He took two bullets meant for his boss. He took 2 bullets meant for a boss, and he still put the shooter through a plate glass window. And then he kicked the guy to death. They don't come no tougher than Joe Bats. He was a pig fucker, but he was bad. But like having balls in front of a gun or a knife got nothing to do with having balls to do time. That's another scene, baby. Believe that. And then a lot of guys with heart ain't got no smarts, so then the bulls outfox them, put them in a bind, and then turn them around. Scott was carrying on like the MC in the lounge act. Like here he is, the one and only made guy canary in captivity. Madre mia, Amadeo said. Madre mia, Amadeo said. I'll drink his blood, I'll eat his liver. Jesus Christ. All hell broke loose. The marshals had to grab the boys. Talk about blowtops. They were screaming and cursing. There was a recess. The judge threatened to put them all in straitjackets and gag them. I was cool. The jury could see that. Then I made my objections. I demand a mistrial, Your Honor. This commotion just now has hurt my case. The jury is going to visit with me the sins of other people, namely these guys. Motion denied. Do you think you can exploit a disorder of your making? It ain't of my making, Your Honor. I'm an innocent bystander, and I object because all this ruckus has messed up my continuity, like Mr. Scott would say. Objection overruled. Proceed with your questioning of the witness, Mr. Scott. The jury is instructed to disregard the disturbance before and to draw no conclusions from it. Ain't this a bitch? King Kong would appear at the window, and some judge would say, the judge will disregard that. Well, Battaglia put the zinger on all the troops. He buried them all, one by one, all the time looking up in the air. He said he gave Rocco $200,000 of Amadeo's money for the last order, and they had discussed what the junk would be worth. Amadeo screamed, Mario, how can you do this to me? How can you lie like this? Then he bit his own hand and turned purple. We had another recess. Then Battaglia put the wood to me. He talked about the sit down on the Bath Beach, how I had been there with Rocco and how he had discussed the $200,000 for the junk with me and Rocco. I jumped up. I object. I plead surprise, Your Honor. I plead surprise, Your Honor. What do you mean, surprise? I'm surprised this man is testifying against me. I had never talked to him in my life. You will have ample time to cross-examine him. Your objection is noted. Please refrain from these unnecessary outbursts. Then Battaglia went into heavy details, really loading it in. How he had discussed the arrival of the France with Rocco, how Bentecourt's gopher, Marcel Boucher, was with Rocco's man Vincent Fusaro at a garage on West 44th Street. Vinny Fusaro was to be in work clothes, chewing on a toothpick, and with a work cap on backwards. Once Fusaro was in the bus, there was to match up halves of $1 bill. Then there was to drive to a motel in Jersey where Rocco had some guys waiting. The jury ate it up. We were in trouble. Al Friedman did a good job on cross, I gotta admit. He brought Joe Bats up from his kid days on Thompson Street through all his collars. There was assaults with iron bars, assault with a hatchet, assault with an ice pick, with sawed-off shotgun. with a sort of shotgun, with a pistol, hijacking, extortion. One second. There were assaults with iron bars, assault with a hatchet, assault with an ice pick, with a sawed off shotgun, with a pistol, hijacking, extortion. The dude was a crime wave all by himself. A terrible record. I was shocked that such a hoodlum was walking around the streets. Friedman. Mr. Battaglia, you have criminal matters outstanding right now in this jurisdiction. You have criminal matters outside. You have criminal matters right now. Mr. Battaglia, you have criminal matters outstanding. You have criminal matters outstanding right now in this jurisdiction, do you not? Battaglia, Mr. Scott, you ain't Friedman. Mr. Battaglia, you have criminal matters outstanding right now in this jurisdiction, do you not? Battaglia, Mr. Scott says you ain't supposed to ask me about them things. I ain't convicted. Judge Rossi, I determine what questions are to be answered, Mr. Battaglia. Will you please answer the question? Friedman, and what is the nature of the charges pending against you, Mr. Battaglia? Judge Rossi, Mr. Friedman, I tried to afford counsel the widest latitude on cross-examination, but I believe you are now straying far afield into collateral matters. Friedman, quite sir, Your Honor. I shall endeavor to hew to the prescribed limits more carefully. May we have a sidebar conference, Your Honor? Ugh. All this Alfonso and Gaston jive gets me sick. Friedman, Miss Battaglia, you are expecting consideration from the government in exchange for your cooperation in this case. Is that not a fact? Battaglia, that ain't why I'm here. Mr. Cronin told me the truth about the dope racket, and I see the light. Now, I'm trying to do the right thing to make up. I don't need no break. They ain't got nothing on me. Friedman, Mr. Cronin is the agent in charge of this case. Is that correct, Mr. Battaglia? Battaglia, you got it, counselor. Joe Batts had a tan. Had to be in La Tuna, Texas. The stool pigeon farm. But he started to lose it as the legal flegals had him under cross for close to a week. Judge Rossi was hot. I never seen a guy in such a hurry. He must sleep with his clothes on. I said I got to have my shot at Joe Batts. Even my fellow lawyers was yelling at me that they had covered all the ground. Friedman, Mr. Brigante, you're opening up a Pandora's box. Me, I ain't worried about her box. I'm worried about my ass. Jacobs, Brigante, you're irritating the judge and the jury. You're repetitious and redundant. Me, listen, Jacobs, I'm the one that's being double jeopardied here. Friedman, I was unaware that you had been tried before on the same matter, Mr. I was unaware that you had been tried before on the same matter, Mr. Brigante. Me, don't be a wise guy, Al. You know what I mean. What do I give a shit about being What do I give a shit about red undering? I'm worried about going to jail. Now let me do it my way. So they tried to Battaglia out again special for me. He looked like the sweetest angel with a tie on. Me. They call you Joe Batts, right? Joe B. Yeah, short for my name, Battaglia. Me. It ain't 'cause you've been batting people on the head with tire irons. It ain't 'cause you've been batting people on the head with tire irons, right? Joe B. Do I have to put up with this abuse, Your Honor? Do I have to put up with this abuse, Your Honor? He ain't even a lawyer. I mean, am I right or wrong? Judge Rossi. Mr. Brigante, please limit your questions to the issues in the case. I try to do an Al Friedman. I shall endeavor in the most. I shall endeavor in the utmost. I shall endeavor in the utmost extreme, Your Honor. And I bowed. Me again. Now, Mr. Joe Batts, you say you saw me at Messina's restaurant in Brooklyn, right? Right. What was I wearing? The hell I know was you were. The hell I know what you were wearing. The nerve of the scurv. Me. Would Your Honor please apprise Joe Batts not to use profanity in the eyes of the jury? Judge Rossi. Mr. Battaglia, please refrain from the use of any profane language. Answer the question if you can. Joe B. You was wearing a suit. Yeah, a dark suit and a tie. Me. 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 What a goddamn liar. I was wearing a knit sport outfit with no tie. Mr. Scott, blowing smoke rings out of his ass. Your Honor, this is an outrage. This is a travesty. If Mr. Brigante was to testify, he will get his chance later. Me. Aha. I demand a mistrial. The DA can't talk about me going on the stand in front of the jury. But I agree that what Joe Batts is doing here is an outrage. Judge, motion denied. You will not make statements. You will not make statements. You will put questions to the witness, Mr. Brigante. I warn you. I am approaching the limits of my patience with your contumacious behavior. I will not tolerate it. Put your next question. Me again. What song was they playing when they saw you? What song was they playing when you saw? What song was they playing when you saw me in Messina's? Joe B. That's easy. Mala Femina. Me. Who's singing? Joe B. Al Martino, I think. Me. Ha! Wrong again. Jerry Vale. The judge called a recess. Then he told me my cross-examination. Then he told me my cross-examination was over. That he ain't gonna allow no more questions from me. Just when I had Joe Batts on the ropes. In the words of Mr. Scott, this is an outrage, Your Honor. This is breaking my chain. This is a drag. I have harpooned the witness lying like a rug. And in the middle of my job, I'm being cut off. I'm moving for a mistrial, for a severance, and a reduction in my bail. And I want it in the records. Judge. Everything being said here is on the record to my great distress, Mr. Brigante. Your motions are denied and your cross-examination of the witness is terminated. Call your next witness, Mr. Scott. The agents marched up and down the stand, a slew of them. Goddamn feds don't look like feds no more. Some of them look like zonked out freaks, long hair, pocketbooks. Unbelievable. Finally, Scott got the junk into evidence. Bad news. Once a jury locks on a jive exhibit, you in trouble. Once a jury locks on a live exhibit, you in trouble. Words are just words, but a pistol is a pistol. They can see it. They can touch it. Same with the junk. They know that ain't pancake flour. They can see it. I figured I'm behind on points, but with a dynamite summation in the last round, I could pull it out. Sugar Ray did it with Randy Turpin, so did Marciano with Ezra Charles. When you've been stunned, When you reeling and the canvas is spinning, that's when you separate the men from the pussy. I saw Muhammad Ali go in with Frazier. I saw Muhammad Ali go it with Frazier. I saw Muhammad Ali go it with Frazier. Cost me 800 to get rich. Cost me 800 to get ringside. Worked every penny. The dude was hurt bad in the 11th, but he showboated his way out like twerking none. Then in the 15th, Ali saw it coming. He leaned back to get away, and he's the only pug ever been able to do that. But Frazier was off his feet, and he threw the hook high enough. Left hook with all the shoulder behind it. I knew it was a home run ball. Ali's feet flew out from under him, splat on his ass. No juking, no jiving now, no playing possum. You all by your lonesome on the seat of your ass. Where you at, colored boy? Brain don't do you good now. Brain don't do you no good now. Only your heart. Ali showed them that night. The man got heart. If you ain't got that, you ain't into nothing. The main man in that department of all time was Rocky Marciano. He had every handicap: short, around 5'10", light, 188 pounds, no jab, no speed, and at the beginning, no left hook. He was not a good defensive fighter, and to cap it, a bleeder. Of course, he had a great cut man. Whitey Bimstein and Charlie Goldman, a great trainer, taught him to shorten up his shots and develop a left hook. The rest Rocky did all by himself, from inside. His great heart got past all these hurdles. Nobody will ever come close to The Rock. I saw him not long before he got killed in a plane crash. It was at the Copa at a Tom Jones show. I don't go around making a big deal out of celebrities, but that night I felt like going over and telling him what a great champ he was. I wish I had. I was at the Garden after he got killed. They rapped the gong 10 times for him. Only time he was counted out. Me and a couple of tough guys with me got sloppy for a few seconds there. Yeah, we cried too. I'm just like everybody else. I'm just like anybody else. I don't beat up on old ladies or kick a guy on crutches. Ain't no tail and horns on me. The only difference between me and the average guy is that I don't follow no rules put down by somebody else. I gotta do things my way. Don't matter what the cost. And it's been heavy. I gotta go my way. I always thought I could have been a good duker, but people always tell me, you're a pretty boy, supposed to be a pimp. Yeah, they gave you great advice in those days. We're down to the wire, and we're neck and neck. You know who's neck? Summation, the last roll of the dice. You know who's neck? You know who's neck. Summation, the last roll of the dice. My associate counselors did their thing rapping long and hard, mostly long. It ain't easy to get up and sell them stone faces. I didn't listen too close. I was working on my summation. I wrote it all down, then I shit-canned it. This got to be done on the feet from the top of the head. Otherwise, it ain't gonna have no punch. I watched them lawyers rattling papers. That jury is gone in a minute. No way you're shooting from the hip, Carlito. No way you shooting from the hip, Carlito. Your Honor, Mr. Your Honor, Mr. Scott, gentlemen of the jury, I know you're wondering, Who does he think he is summing up his own case? And with all these brilliant lawyers here, where's his head at? Well, I'll tell you. I'm here because I believe in me, even though everybody else don't. But nobody, no lawyer in the world knows better than me what happened here. And I'm going to tell you about it, and I will have the confidence that you gentlemen of the jury will believe me. Wait. And I'm going to tell you about it, and I have the confidence that you gentlemen of the jury will believe me when I tell you how this thing went down. But first, let's get the prelims out of the way before we start the main event. From the get-go, let me tell you, I'm against dope, 100%. It's a sickness that gotta be wiped out. That's gotta be wiped out. We all agree on that. Of course, Mr. Scott is gonna tell you, he don't have to tell you how. Mr. Scott is gonna tell you, he don't have to tell you how terrible dope is. Then he's gonna take a half hour telling you anyway. But let's not get carried away. Let's don't get hysteria about it when we're blinded and can't see the bushes for the forest. That's right. Let us keep a cool head like you promised to do when you was first picked out. Remember what you promised the lawyers? That you was gonna consider only what comes off that chair right there, right? Well, let's see what come off that witness chair. I'll tell you what come off Joe Bats, also known as Mario Battaglia. If you believe him, I'll plead guilty right here and now. Joe Bats, when he come through that door, I thought it was Rondo Hatton. It's bad enough he come on like Primo Camara. He's gotta have a piece of pipe in his hand or maybe a hatchet. How'd you like to have him as your friendly bill collector? Or maybe you honk a horn at him and he come over and rip the door off your car. You heard his record. Talk about safe streets. Is any street safe with a torpedo like that on it? That's their main event boy, battling Joe Bats, manager Scott, and trainer Cronin. They're betting everything on him. And you're gonna buy that? Are you gonna pick up anything put down by Joe Bats? I don't believe it. I believe you're gonna say Joe Bats come out of the Black Lagoon and no amount of Brillo is gonna clean him up. Anyway, anybody go along with that villain, shame on them. Check him out. Does he have a motive to lie? You better believe it. But what does Cronin's protege Joe Bats say? He says he now knows the truth about dope and he was trying to do the right thing. If there's a God in heaven, and I believe there is, the plaster on the ceiling should have fell on Joe Bats' head. The light should have blown out. And then you saw him with me. You heard his profanity. Then he couldn't remember what I was wearing, but he could give you tiny details about things that happened long before. Joe Bats is a Cupid doll wound up by Scott. You pull the string, he goes blah, blah, wah, wah. But get him off the script for one question and he gets the apple right away. This is a put-up job of the high water. So much for that lying dog Joe B. May God forgive him, for he knows not what he done. So, what really happened in this case? I can only tell you about what happened to me in this case. I got nothing to do with these other people. Any resemblance is purely coincidental. I'm a Puerto Rican, and I stay with my own kind. I got no truck with people of other national origin and their customs. That ain't my lookout. But I can tell you I was drunk that night and wound up on Canal Street. I don't know how. I saw this bus and half stoned, I decided to go for a joyride. Next thing I know, these crazy hippies are banging into the car. I thought it was hot rodders or muggers. I panicked and cracked up the bus and... Scott, Your Honor, I must inject myself. Me. What do you mean, inject yourself? I resent that kind of remark in this kind of case. Scott, Your Honor, Mr. Brigante is in effect testifying in his own summation to matters not in the record. He cannot do this. He did not testify during the trial. Aha! There it is again, Judge. Mistrial. Mr. Brigante. Mr. Brigante, I have granted you wide latitude in your summation out of deference to your position as a layman. However, I cannot permit you to inject or infuse matters that have not been testified to. You cannot have it both ways. You assumed a certain tactical position. You are bound by it. Now continue with your summation. Me continuing. Where was I before I was interrupted? Oh yeah, about me stealing the bus. Well, I can't go into that. You heard Scott? But I say let it all hang out. I know what you're thinking. Why didn't this Puerto Rican take the stand? By law, you ain't supposed to think about that. But I ain't hiding behind no technicalities. I'm gonna tell you. It's because Mr. Scott here would start hooping and hollering about my prior record to make me look bad. It's an old DA's trick. Coño acaba. Mr. Scott here will start hooping and hollering about my prior record to make me look bad. It's an old DA's trick. So what if he's got nothing to do with this case? Let's get him on his past record. But I've been looking at you people, and I said, Carlito, these people is not about to get the wool pulled over their eyes by this DA. So I'll lay it out for you. Yeah, I've been in trouble, but never for no dope. Mostly fighting for survival in the ghetto. That's my record. I am a victim of circumstances. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Mr. Scott takes that little circumstance, works it backwards through Joe Bats, and makes a big circumstance out of it, like he was looking in a telescope. Now that's a terrible thing. Circumstances. They have put away a whole lot of people behind circumstances. To me, that's a dirty word. Why? When something happens uptown, everybody quits the scene and no witnesses. Because, why? Why? When something happens uptown, everybody quits the scene and no witnesses? Because people are afraid of circumstances. They know about them. Like a guy stretched out stone cold on the pavement. Yep, you best not be there when the man shows up, because that's the time the shooter will drop the pistol at your feet. And you with a record, you know you're going to be talking uphill when they get you in the squad room. Circumstances. You're riding the subway to work with both hands on the daily news. A fine fox has got her back to you. Some degenerate will lean over past you and give her the dead hand. When she turns around, who's gonna get the pocketbook in the face? Circumstances. They can bury an innocent man. I know Scott's gonna talk about the total and the parts and one brick on top of the other. Well, I say Scott's house can't get in. I say Scott's house can't get no building code permit because the foundation is rotten. That being Joe Bat, Mr. Battaglia. And the plumbing and wiring ain't no good. And the plumbing and wiring ain't no good either. You saw them federal agents. Unbelievable. That's our government gotta hire these hippie guys with long hair and messy clothes. What an example for our youth. That don't command no respect. Yeah, Scott is a builder, all right. A builder of Fox Street tenements with termites in the woodwork and rusty fire escapes. He's asking you to destroy men's lives. I don't have to tell you what a conviction in this means. But what are the tools he's giving you? What are the pieces in the jigsaw? They don't fit. They don't jive because they're made out of Joe Bats, and you know what he's made of. And you know what he's made of. You can't go by where there's smoke, there's fire. You got to be sure when you're dealing with people's lives. Can you say Joe Bats didn't cook this up to save himself? You know he'll kill and maim. You don't think he'll lie. You don't think maybe he conned Mr. Scott over here. You know there's people that see a conspiracy when two bed bugs cross a mattress. A guy like Joe B can play on that. That's the kind of guy Scott wants to strap on you. I don't envy you. Well, all right, I've had my say. I may have been clumsy. I may have been the lawyer with the fool for a client, but I went the only way I know how. My way. If my speech was rough, I apologize. I was on the street when I should have been at school. I want to thank you for listening to me. I want to thank you for listening to me. I know whatever you decide, you did your best. God bless you. Try and read them faces. The lawyers start in. The foreman is with us. It's plain on his face. Number four juror was smiling. He's going along with us. Number 7 juror was disgusted by these hippie-type agents. Numbers 8 and 9 jurors are fighting. You can see that. They'll be deadlocked for sure, etc. Bullshit. Everybody got tagged on every count. 30 days for investigation and sentence. Finita la comedia. I was worried about Rocco after that. He didn't want to eat, didn't want to clean up, didn't want to do anything. He was doing bad time. I'm not going to make it, Carl. I'm not going to make it, Charles. What do you mean, Rocco? You got a lot going for you. I'm tired. I want out. Rocco, you got bread. Rocco, you got bread. You could put together a dynamite appeal, knock the jock off these sumbitches. There was error like crazy in the trial. You're too much. You're too much, Charles. You never say die. I wish I was like you, but they're going to close the door on me. Wops don't make parole. Right away they stamp us OC or Mafia. My life is over. It's okay. I got no squawks. Don't talk like that. What about Carmen and the kids? They'll be taken care of. What about me, Rocco? Don't you give a fuck about what happens to me? You know I depend on you for the smarts. Who's gonna give me the right scoop now? You'll be okay. You got a talent for survival. Come on, don't get sloppy on me. You're supposed to be a tough guy. You ain't gonna hurt yourself, are you, Rocco? Get off that kick, will you, Carlito, for Christ's sake? Hey, tell me about the 13th round with Walcott and Marciano. Hey, tell me about the 13th round with Walcott and Marciano. Hey, tell me about that 13th round with Walcott and Marciano. Rocco hung himself the week before sentence. He used his shirt. Let's just say it was the worst news I ever got, and I've been in a whole lot of hassles and seen a lot of good boys go out. But Rocco was like an older brother to me. I'd have given my life for him. I ain't no hack fighter, but when they wouldn't let me attend his funeral, I went bananas. He was the best guy on the street ever was. Always had class, even as a kid back at the L with me and Earl. Chapter 12. And now the end is near. Frank's song for the wise guys. My way. Yeah. I did it my way. Regrets? I've had a few. Ha! 30 years, the man said. The streets will be buzzing tonight. Simpson Street, Fox Street, 117th Street, 111th Street, all the Rican hustlers. Carlito got 30 years. That mother had a ton of bread. Why ain't so greedy? Fuck him. Yeah, your own kind always gives you a break. Judge Rossi made a big spiel about me being a cancer. You, Charles Brigante, are a malignant tumor in the soft underbelly of our society. The influx of heroin for which you and your co-conspirators are responsible has caused untold suffering and anguish. The toll in human life is incalculable, and yet you stand there in the full flush of your arrogance, swaggering about as you did throughout the entire trial. No contrition, no repentance from you, Brigante. Blah, blah, blah. Repentance. You goddamn right. I'm going to jail for 30 years. Mr. Assistant U.S. Attorney Scott smirk, and he swear his ass weigh a ton. As if he could lose in that kangaroo court. They was playing with mark cards, loaded dice, and tilted tables. Real sporting like. Shit. Any fool could have won this case for the government. Any fool could have won this case and... Shit. Any fool could have won this case for the government. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we caught this jive Puerto Rican with 200 keys of horse with worth 80 million on the street. But he didn't know it was in the car. Shit. Ain't no big deal. Does the defendant wish to address the court before sentence? Yes, Your Honor. I swear to God I didn't know anything about what was in that car. I know how my people have suffered with the drugs, and I won't have nothing to do with it. But like, I come up in Harlem at the wrong time, and I've been keeping bad company. So that's how come I'm in trouble. Bad people around me. I'm trying to do the right thing, but it's hard to turn your back on people you know all your life. So like, these agents cook up this conspiracy, maybe something bad went down, but it ain't like these agents and stool pigeons, informers told it. That Battaglia, he lied. I swear to God I ain't never dealt with this man. I know Your Honor's Italian, and I don't mean no offense, but these Italian guys, these other defendants, wouldn't have nothing to do with a Puerto Rican like me. No way. The jury was crazy to believe that. This is guilt by association, like the lawyers said, and the probation department of the court, and the probation department of this court. All they want to talk about is my record. What kind of justice is that? They want to talk about 25 years ago? Why we got to talk about that? Let's talk about this case. Not about no unlawful entry or lousy assault case. Not about no unlawful entry or lousy assault case, Not about no unlawful entry or lousy assault case, skatey 8 years ago. A man had to skatey 8 years ago. A man had to have a record in those days. The Ricans was not in style. Wasn't no social workers out there worried about you. The bulls out of the 2-3 and 2-5 precincts had one hand on your throat and one foot up your butt. They didn't answer to nobody in them days. If you got popped, wrong or right, shame on you. How many times I got stomped right there in the bathroom of the 2-3 on 104th Street, or get my head shoved in a toilet bowl. It was rough out there. Wearing none of this Miranda jive. Wearing none of this Miranda jive. So like, if a dude had heart and got himself a rep, every time something happened, the man will be on you. So that's how come I got a record. I don't know none of these Italians, and I didn't get no fair trial. I demand a new trial. That's all I gotta say. Back to West Street Max for a couple of weeks, then Lewisburg or Atlanta. Let's see now. 30 years. I'm 42. I'll come before the board in 10 years. They'll say, no dice, motherfuckers. Yeah, I'll do 20. I'll be 62. Fuck it. The kid always stands up. I'm going into the yard looking every motherfucker in the eye, never ratted nobody out. The wops are mad at me because I was my own lawyer. Fuck 'em. It was my ass. And the stool pigeon, a wop. Ain't this a bitch? All this bullshit about the outfit. All this bullshit about the outfit. And the stool turns out to be the made guy. And the stool turns out to be a made guy. Ha! What a joke on Amadeo when they opened the door behind the witness chair and in came Battaglia. The big gee liked to fall through his own asshole. Mr. Amadeo, Mr. A, Mr. Mohair, Mr. White on White, up yours. Me being the only spick, right away I was wrong. All those months in West Street, not one look, not one word. Sid's talk with his crew was all. Me, I'm out. I'm a niggerican. But when the shit had to be moved from the pier, nobody wanted to get near the car. The spick was the only one with the heart. Then when the shit hit the fan, I'm a garbage can. All the spitters close ranks and the Rican is out. He ain't family, he's the weakling. Fuck you. Fuck you, Mr. PDA. I stood up like a chump. Even when you had the scissors stolen from the barbershop to put through my chest. The contract never went down. Rocco saw to that. Rocco, my main man. Goodbye, old buddy. Goodbye to a lot of things, Carlito. Goodbye to flying to Panama to catch a fight. Goodbye to ringside at the Copa. Goodbye to Sinatra at the Fountain Blue. Goodbye to the lounges in Vegas. Goodbye to the dolls of San Juan. Goodbye to all of that good shit. Well, the judge had the last laugh. He slapped 30 years on me like I was a common criminal, same as the other guys. He figured I was trying to break his chops. Maybe I just knew I was sinking and wanted to go down smoking. I don't know. Half the things I do, I don't know why I do them. Figuring things out is a pain in the ass. I just act most of the time. I just act most of the time. Lewisburg is a hotel compared to Atlanta, so I hope I get sent to Lewisburg. Hope they don't send Amadeo there. He'll have me whacked out for sure. But then again, I might get lucky. There's this Peruvian guy down there who got a big connection. But then again, I ain't never liked the coke business. That means South America, and I ain't never liked dealing with them people. There ain't no gangsters down there. You got to deal with businessmen, diplomats, squares like that. You know they ain't gonna stand up, and anyway, there ain't never been no real money in the candy trade. Maybe the horse is dead. Like Earl used to say, the feds had killed the golden horse, and all the riders gonna get splatted. Bullshit. Had me a hell of a time. We had a 20-year run, figure better than permission. We had a 20-year run, figure better than prohibition. Maybe the party's over and the junk scene played out. Maybe. Best racket ever was. Nobody wrote it better than me. Can't make no race house out of a jackass. Well, I'm the Versa Vice. I'm a Derby winner. Irregardless, they sprung me out of a garbage lot out of 113th Street. Right from the jump, I said, Carlito, you ain't staying here. Right off the get-go, everybody knew I was class. So like what? A cat with heart is gonna gig in some shoulder pad factory? Scoffing pimp steaks off a push cart? Summering on the fire escape? That's cool for some fools, but I was mad like a motherfucker in the 1940s. The Ricans was into nothing in them days. The Ricans was into nothing in them days. Wasn't no mobilization this or poverty that. Wasn't nothing but the landlord with his foot on your neck, Wasn't no way a PR could get indoors to rob like everybody else. Had to get his on the street where the man could see him. And don't tell me that Horatio Folger faggot shit. Don't want to hear it. Wasn't born to press my nose against no candy store window. I'm coming through the fucking window. How you gonna be broke in the USA with all them goodies out there? I seen them in sneakers, in the snow, pushing racks in the garment center. Gotta be crazy. Meanwhile, Money is walking on a rug on the sidewalk with the doorman holding an umbrella over his head till he gets in a limousine. Hey, motherfucker, slide your window down. Let me in on it. What's the fucking secret? Jive ass. Jive ass. Grab hold with your hands. Stuff it in your pockets. Get the money. Any way you get it, it's okay. If you sick, it'll make you well. Can't be broke if you got it. That's what goes on in this country. Climb up on a long pole, look down on the USA. What do you gotta see? What are you gonna see? You're gonna see the slick ones going after the chicklets, and the jive ass will be dumb, and the jive ass will be dumbfoundering around. I seen that right away when I was a kid in Spanish Harlem, and I went for the bullseye express train. Had to make a couple of local stops, but that's all right. That's all this last bust is, a local stop. Batalia's a renegade, ain't he? So you know he got to renege on the government. So you know he had to renege on the government. I ain't getting no protection. They'll fall out, and when Joe Bats gets mad enough, he'll spin around again and turn on them. Which will mean a new trial for me, you dig? Shit. I'll be on the street in no time. And that's that. For Carlito's Way. Let me turn this on. Actually, let me put a stop to this. Save projects. Come on. Carlito's Way. Finale. Save. Turn on my fan again. That feels good. Woo! Project Heat is on, and you know what that's about, huh? Nature. Ruthless with their heat. But I'm thankful nonetheless. Folks, I apologize. For last episode of Ralph Reed's Raw, it cut off. And there was like 10 minutes left of the show, and for some odd reason, YouTube decided, this can't go. But I apologize no less, y'all. That was not cool. They shouldn't have did that. Ah, man. I'll tell you what, fellow sexy people. I'm thankful that y'all would take the time to check this out, right? Kalina, I saw you. And everybody else that tuned in, I'm very thankful for you. Tune in next time when I start Carlito Brigante's other book called After Hours. It's going to be a lot of fun, folks. If y'all saw the movie, be prepared for something cool. All right? In the meantime, keep it locked on this very station right here. Tell a friend to tune in. And I will see you again. Stay sexy. It becomes you. I will see you folks on the next edition of Ralph Reed's Raw. Take care. Peace.